It was a wild night in the NHL on Thursday night, and we're here to break it down as well as one game in the NHL for Friday. We'll get you guys set, of course, for Saturday's slate with Carmine's 6 and 60. I'll have some player props for you and all kinds of good stuff here on PuckTime. Welcome in, guys. WagerTalk TV, Andrew McInnis, Carmine Bianco. Looking forward to a fantastic show. And, you know, there was once a time where if there was only one game, we wouldn't even be here doing a show. But it was a wild, wild night last night of games. And, Carm, there's going to be one specific game that you're extremely excited about. So good morning to you. And, hey, your Buffalo Sabres are playing as well as they are, and you show up in a different jersey here this morning. What's going on, Carm?
That's it. I have to, man. I have to show respect to the Red Wings. It's a little, I got my hoodie, so this is just on for the opening. But 88, Andrew, 88. Patrick Kane passes Mike Modano as the number one U.S.-born player as far as points go. We got an assist in that second period. He had an assist in the first period, early goal, but it was off. It was offside on that one. But 13.75 for Patrick Kane and Buffalo-born. So there's the connection, Andrew. A Buffalo-born player holds the record, top U.S. scoring. So passes, of course, Modano, who had a fantastic message. If you remember Modano from his days with the Minnesota North Stars and Dallas Stars. So with that said, man, I got lucky. I will say it. It was a 5% play on the total. It looked absolutely dead in the water, Andrew. We were talking, I think, in the third period. I'm like, this play's dead. I can't believe it, the chances and stuff. But as good as Patrick Kane was, as good as Washington was, and as good as the Detroit Red Wings were, Andrew, do you know who the VIP of the game was? Does anyone know who the MVP of the game was? Let me tell you who it is. It's this man right here. It's this man right here. If you're wondering who that guy is, the game-tying goal with under a minute left went off of that little hole there. Sometimes holes are good. That little hole there, yeah, I said it. And into the net by the goalie. Unbelievable. And then they review it. And I'm like, oh my God, please don't take this goal away from them. Because I think if it had hit, it'd be hard to determine. But I think if the camera was through the little hole there and it hit the camera, they could have called it an interference or whatever it is, and it would have been no goal. But they couldn't determine it. They say that it actually hit the actual window, little stanchion there, or whatever it's called, Andrew, and they allowed the goal. What a way to win a play! I have to say, man, absolutely crazy, Andrew, to win a play like that. I will take him any way I can get him. We should, because we've been on the when I say we, I'm talking about even you guys in the chat or guys watching later on. We've been on the wrong end of bad beats. It is good to have one go your way. So
it's pretty awesome. And you know, I'm not gonna lie, I was checking the score, I was cheering for you, and then I was like, it's not looking too good. And then out of nowhere, I just see a text come in from you, and I was like, there's no way this just happened. I couldn't believe it. I love that picture you pulled up, though. The guy looks so stunned. Like the camera guy, he looks so stunned.
Because they kept showing him. They kept showing him over and over, and then the people were tweeting out the picture as well, too. So I thought it was pretty funny, man.
I had a good one, too, last night, Carm. I'll tell you. It wasn't a 5%er, but I took this the hard way here. I had the Edmonton Oilers team total over 3.5 goals. And they were down 3-0 against the San Jose Sharks. They won that game 4-3 in overtime. 4-3 in overtime. Like, you know, just looking at that team, what they were able to do in that third period, I was extremely, extremely excited. And, you know, the fact to have over 3.5 goals, you don't necessarily need them to win, but you need to get to 4 goals, and they needed 4 goals to win it in overtime. And the funny thing is, yesterday on the show, the same game parlay, if you remember, we had McDavid 2 points, we had Bouchard assist, we had Draisaitl goal, and Zach Hyman 3 shots on goal. And we fall short because of Zach Hyman 1 less shot. But if you guys took all of those individual plays, and they were all pretty good odds, you were able to make some money with that. So not as good as your last second win, but man, I was pretty excited about that one. Like you got the team total and you're down 3-0 and you get 3 straight goals in the third period. That was exciting, but let's continue taking a look back here, Carm. We don't always like to do this, but I think sometimes it's fun to do. And I want to throw this out there, and I'm going to keep on piling on with this. This is the first time in a long time, Carm, that we're really seeing the East dominate the West. You just can't ignore it. Last night we had 4-1 victory, Lightning over the Jets, 5-4 victory, Hurricanes over the Mammoth. My Canadians get revenge over the Avalanche, 7-3 win for them. How about the Devils, 3-2 win over the Nashville Predators? How about your Buffalo Sabres that just can't stop winning? They win 4-1 over the Kings. You know, the list goes on and on and on here, Carm, but these East teams are far superior right now than the Western Conference. And I'll say this, you catch the play of the day with the Dallas Stars. And I just want to go even more in depth on the fact that this team, the Vegas Golden Knights, if it wasn't for these overtime loss points, they're the worst team in overtime or shootout I've ever seen.
Yeah.
If you look at the Utah Mammoth, Carm, they have 28 wins. They're in the first wild card spot. The Anaheim Ducks are in the second wild card spot. They have 28 wins. San Jose Sharks have 27 wins. You know how many wins the Vegas Golden Knights have? They're first place in the division. They've got 25 wins. There's teams that aren't even in the playoffs right now that have more wins than they do. Wow. What's your take on that?
It's nuts, Andrew. And this is the thing is like, you know, I mean, like, there's some movers and there's just some teams moving in the West. It's just making for some interesting hockey. And it's kind of like what I said about this final week before the, before the Olympic break. Next weekend, I think is the last set of games, I think on Saturday. But and I know the press joked around about the coasting mode, but it's hard to argue like some of these teams, and I'm not calling it coasting. They're not coasting, but the intensity level isn't there. If you want to, maybe coasting means the intensity level isn't there. The Colorado Avalanche losing a game like they did to Ottawa. Maybe Ottawa's turning it around. Ottawa's had 2 monster wins against the Vegas Golden Knights in Colorado, or are they just wins in which they caught teams in bad spots? Who knows? But the fact remains they've scored, I think, 13 goals across those games. There's some teams that are winning. You know, look, the Columbus Blue Jackets with that coaching bounce. And they're playing tonight. We're going to discuss that game shortly. And then we're also going to discuss a couple games on the Saturday card, Montreal and Buffalo and Toronto and Vancouver. But Andrew, is just, it was one of those ones where I talked about like sort of the Freaky Friday moving to Thursday because all the games were on Thursday. Of all teams to shut out the Anaheim Ducks, it was the Vancouver Canucks that have been a sieve of late. I when I first saw that score, I'm like, it's 2-0 was the final there. And I'll be honest with you, I called it a night after I won my first couple of plays and Dallas was up 4-1 against Vegas. I'm like, all right, if I lose this one, it's going to be a bad beat. And then I see that they won it in OT or shootout, and I'm like, are you kidding me, man? They came back. It's that first game back of the Vegas Golden Knights or any team. First game back off a coast-to-coast trip. They're normally a little bit flat. You look at them to play much better the second time out, and we'll discuss that during the 6 and 60 segment. But, man, Andrew, it is nuts. Your Canadians keep on winning. The Sabres keep on winning. It is like, if you're a Seinfeld fan, it is like the Bizarro world, where Elaine has a set of friends that are different than that are mimics of basically of George, Jerry, and Kramer. It is
And
the
the Maple
bizarro
Leafs
world.
keep on losing. You love to see it.
Yeah, and the Leafs keep on losing 5-2 to the Seattle Kraken. So release the Kraken. Things are about to explode in Toronto, Andrew. Don't know when it's coming, but I will say this is something's going to change, and it's not going to be them adding players for a playoff push, because I think at this point, I think they need to be they need to come to terms with the fact that they could very well miss the playoffs. MLSE is a huge corporation that owns the Raptors as well too, owns TFC. They're just going to have to do without the playoff revenue. And what playoff revenue would they get anyways? First round, they're normally gone anyways. So they're missing out on a couple games.
I got a question for you, Carm. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Fire away, man.
You like to put me on the spot sometimes, and I love to bring up the will a team make the playoffs, yes or no question. Right now, some teams are running out of runway, even though it's only, closing in on that all-star break or the Olympic break. And unfortunately, Carm, it's even earlier than you mentioned. It's next Thursday. So last week kicked off the final week of games here for some of these teams. And I stand by what I said. Prez didn't agree with me. I stand by what I said. There's some teams that are on cruise control. You don't think McInnis knows that he's ready to go try and win a gold medal next week? I don't think he'd like to hear this, but I think he does. But here's my question to you. The Florida Panthers minus 125 to make the playoffs. Looks like Barkov isn't coming back anytime too soon. I'm looking at the NHL standings right now. This team has 59 points, but the second wild card spot has 67 points. Would you take that right now? Do you see it as a buy low spot on the Florida Panthers to make the playoffs?
I wouldn't touch it. I just wouldn't touch it because even with Matthew Tkachuk coming back, they haven't looked any different than they did before. Andrew, I just don't know. Maybe after a couple of years, they've had or three straight runs to the finals. And I'm not going to use that phrase that after going to the Stanley Cup finals three straight years and winning the last two, that they're tired. These are athletes. They're not tired. But the grind just isn't there. They're going to have to put together a run similar to what they did 3 years ago, where they were toiling in and around where they are right now and had to make that run to get into the playoffs. And they played the Boston Bruins, who won the President's Trophy that year, and they knocked off the Bruins, upset the Bruins on their way to playing the Vegas Golden Knights and eventually losing in that final where a ton of their players were injured. And they got blown out in that last game. I think Vegas scored 7 on them or something like that in that final game. Andrew, I just don't see it. They're not even playing well defensively. Like, if nothing else, if you don't have the scoring, Florida's a team that's been known for playing defensively. They've allowed 174 goals in 53 games. That's north of 3.1, 3.2 goals per game. You're not going to win a lot there. And if Bobrovsky is going to be your guy that is going to have to cover the workload the whole way, I wouldn't lay that price. I wish I got a bigger plus price on the no, because at this point here, all respect to the defending Stanley Cup champions, but as you mentioned, they're like 8 points back. It's so tough to put together a run in which, even with 19 games left, 19 or 29 games left, that they're going to have they're going to have to win a big portion of those games. I think I'll do that on the weekend of what the teams below the line, what clip they're going to have to go at in order to make it. Because I believe last season, without having the standings in front of me, Andrew, last season, I have to believe, I think it was like 90, something like 93 or 94 points got you into the playoffs. So if it's like, let's hypothetically say it was 93 points. They are 34 points away from that. That is 17 wins in 29 games. They only have 28 wins right now in 53. So
Yeah. Well, I think in the East this year, Carmen, it might be closer to 98, but in the West, it's going to be closer to 92 or 93. And that's why I keep on talking about the big difference. But you hit it right on the head. I don't even think it's as much the offense right now as this team being a little bit sloppier defensively. The last thing I'll say about this is that the Metropolitan Division got better this year. Like, Carm, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm just going to say this. You know, I'm a big Sidney Crosby fan. I don't think any of us saw this Pittsburgh team playing the way they're playing. You know, the Evgeny Malkin line, the year that he's having, like, the difference this year is that when you look at, and first of all, the Capitals were the number one team in the Metro last year. Let's not forget that. And now they're not even in the playoffs right now. So you've got Panthers 59, Capitals 59, Devils 58, Blue Jackets 57, Senators 57. I mean, besides the New York Rangers, everybody's kind of bunched up, but there's currently a pretty big gap. I'll tell you, the Boston Bruins, as much as I'm going to talk about the Buffalo Sabres, and we'll give them credit, and the Pittsburgh Penguins, I got to tip my cap to the Boston Bruins because there's been kind of some unsung heroes on that team that people might not give credit to. And I know me and you are guilty of kind of bashing the Leafs a lot, but one trade that they might have really whiffed on, man, was that Fraser Minton trade. Fraser Minton was the first line centerman yesterday for the Boston Bruins. And, you know, you give up a guy like Brandon Carlo and, you know, it looks a little bit different. So anyway, guys, looking forward to a big weekend. Hope you guys all had a great Thursday. And for me, it was a 1-in-1 day in the NHL, Carm, but it was a pretty good day overall for us on PuckTime. I think we made some good bets on PuckTime.
Yeah, I think so as well too. 91 points last season got the eighth and final wildcard team in, and that was the Montreal Canadiens. So Florida's off that pace. If it's 91 points this season, off that pace, Florida needs 32 points in their remaining 29 games. That's more than a point per game that they need in order to get into the playoffs. I don't know, man. We'll revisit this during the Olympic break or at the start of on February 25th at the start of the dash for the cash in the NHL. So, but with that said, Andrew, Columbus and Chicago, plus 115 on Chicago at home, minus 139 for Columbus on the road. 6.5 is the total here. Those are the opening numbers in this game. They've moved in Columbus's favor a little bit. Second of a back-to-back for the Blackhawks after getting bounced pretty heavily with Arvid Soderblom in goal last night. So it is going to be Spencer Knight in goal for the Hawks tonight. Where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I think it's probably a good thing that we're going to see Spencer Knight there. Right now with this Columbus Blue Jackets team, just the way that they've looked under Coach Rick Bowness, it's been unbelievable. I mean, you want to talk about following streaks right now, whether it be betting Columbus, whether it be taking Buffalo, whether it be going against Vancouver. There's just certain teams that you can follow right now that are playing a certain way. Looking right now at the form, though, Columbus controls play a lot. They generate a lot of chances compared to Chicago's lack of high danger chances. And just looking at this right now, I just expect Chicago to give up a ton of opportunities. And so yesterday, it was by just one save, Carm, that I was able to cash this prop, by just one save. But I think we go back to the save market here, and I'm going to take Spencer Knight over 25.5 saves. That's one of the props I'll mention later on in my prop segment. But this is a Columbus team that is starting to shoot the puck a lot more. They surprisingly have more depth than we've seen, multiple guys contributing. And I feel like that Rick Bowness has actually activated that out of this roster. Like, hey, guys, we need to see everybody, all hands on deck, fire shots on goal. No shot is a bad shot. And we're getting actually the same number I gave you yesterday on Dobish, who landed on 26 saves. We're getting that same number with Spencer Knight today. So, Carm, hey, look, it's not a side, not a total, but this is one that sticks out to me here. Most people probably should be able to bet this one over 25.5 saves for Spencer Knight. Chicago's bleeding chances, second half of back-to-back. They're probably going to force Spencer Knight to have to stand on his head. So I like that save prop, man. And hey, they all count the same, right? So hopefully we can make some money with that one. And before I go back to you, shout out to our guy, Ski Profit. What's up, Ski? Good morning to you, my friend, and keep crushing it in the NBA, man. Always good to have you here.
I love Ski, man. Ski's the best. Whether it is getting together with Ski at the Westgate to play some horses because the man knows what he's doing, or at the craps table. I think it's the craps table, man. The guy is absolutely insane. It is a game that I do not know how to bet, and this guy makes money every single time he takes me to a table. So yeah, shout out to him, and then he kills it in NBA as well too. So I'll see him in August when we head to August for contest weekend and sign up for some of those Circa and Westgate contests. Andrew, I'm going with Columbus here. I got in early on them, and now they're at like 140, 150. The coaches bounce 7-1, I believe, is their record since Rick Bowness came aboard. I think if I'm correct, and that one loss, Andrew, was to the Ottawa Senators in Columbus, and we could sort of blow that off and say, okay, well, wow, they lost to Ottawa. He's not playing well. But if you look at Ottawa's last 5-6 games, the Sens are playing well. They're starting to come around. Goaltending issues, obviously, for them, but I think they've righted the ship. And so maybe that is one of those ones where sometimes, to use a horse phrase, Andrew, as Ski will know this one, a horse coming out of a key race, which is like a horse that does not win, but competed with some horses that came out and won their next race. So they came out and won their next race. That's what it feels like here. Columbus is going to, despite the 7-1 run by Columbus, they're still on the outside looking in this playoff push. So they're not taking any days off. Where we talk about coasting, they are not coasting right now. They are in full-fledged playoff mode right now. And while it is Spencer Knight in goal, if you look at his numbers over the last 4 or 5 starts, he's got quite a few. He's got some losses in there and some 5-goal outings where he's allowed five goals, Andrew. So for me, it's Columbus. As you mentioned, they're shooting the puck. It's one of those ones where maybe the player props with some Columbus shot on goal props here, but it's the Columbus Blue Jackets for me until they lose a couple in a row. I'm not jumping off of this coach's bump. -139.
Yeah, and you know how sometimes like you see a team on a streak, but you start to think like maybe they don't actually deserve some of these wins. This team really deserves a lot of the wins that they're getting. That's been the most impressive part of all of this is, they're playing good hockey on this streak. And I know it might sound like, well, yeah, obviously they're winning, but as well as I do, Carm, sometimes teams will get rolling a bit, but they're getting a bounce or two, or their power plays, or they're playing some shitty teams. Columbus is getting the job done. I think that they mean it. They're doing pretty well.
Yeah, the thing is, Andrew, and I just wanted to look this up because I was mentioning it, but I didn't have the exact numbers to it or what have you. Coming into the season, you would have to have figured that Columbus was going to have a better season than the Chicago Blackhawks, but the Blackhawks have hung tight all season long, even with the Bedard injury. But I think they're a fade team, sort of moving forward in a lot of spots, even though they tend to play well at home. If you look at Spencer Knight's starts, and I'm just bringing his numbers up here. 3 goals, 4 goals, 3 goals. He's other than a shutout against the Winnipeg Jets in which they beat him 2-0. He hasn't been the Spencer Knight he was early in the season. He's like 1-1-1 his last 3 games. He's allowed 10 goals on 78 shots. So he's starting to a little bit of regression from him after the great start he's had. But that's also because he picks up a lot of the volume in games for this team, for Chicago. At some point, it wears on you, and I think it's going to wear on him more in the second half of the season, which we're smack dab in the middle of. and you're going to see his numbers come down a bit. His goals against average was very good, but it's now starting to elevate a bit. It's at 259, 910 save percentage. That's probably going to go a tick higher as Chicago continues to lose some games. So I think Columbus is the right spot here.
Yeah, and there's sometimes where you look towards back-to-backs and you think maybe this team can have a good effort and things, but it is Freaky Friday. We won't forget to shout that out. And underdogs can be barking here, but I think the freaky part about today is that we could see Spencer Knight make a ton of great saves. So that's why I'm on that save prop. But they just give up so many chances that this is probably a team that they're not going to overlook. Totals wise, Carm, obviously some point props and shot props we can look at, but do you have an ultimate decision, or are you mostly like that side?
Andrew, when I was looking at like some different pod plays for today, and I do have a pod play for tonight, and I'll just mention it later. I was looking at some various things, and even like in the prop markets, and my lean to Columbus is it's a lean, and it's likely going to just be a client play. I'm not going to have a package up because there's only one game tonight. So, and I'm mentioning that I like him here, but I also thought, it's Jet Greaves in goal for Columbus tonight. You can look at his numbers, but overall Jets are having a fantastic season. And this is the type of game in which they catch a team on the second of a back-to-back, that the legs might not be there. And I was looking at the Chicago team total under, and the under 2.5 is plus 105. Because This kind of feels like one of those 4-2 games to me that could turn into a 5-2 game for the over bettors with an empty netter. So, with that with that said, that's sort of the way I was leaning, but I will mention the pod after these next couple of games that we're going to talk about. Because how can we not talk about Saturday's action and not talk about, because these lines are just freshly popping in on our odds board right now. The Buffalo Sabres and the Montreal Canadiens, Andrew. Listen, I get it. Montreal normally has Buffalo's number, Andrew. I get it. I absolutely understand it. They have their number. But the Sabres win 2 games against Montreal in the past week and a half or 2 weeks. And they're minus 122. The opening line out of DK is 122. And I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. Montreal's plus 102. The total's at 6.5. This is one of those ones where make me understand it. But I'm going to say this. Since December 1st, the Buffalo Sabres have the number 1 record in the NHL for the most points earned since December 1st. Number 1. Also, since firing their GM, which happened back on December the 9th, I believe, the Sabres in 24 games are 23-1. Phenomenal record, minus 122 at home with a day off. They're not on the second of a back-to-back or anything for neither of these teams. Andrew, it's the Sabres for me, but make me understand why this line is where it is.
Hey, I mean, if you use that, make me understand the fishy line quite a bit over the last couple of days, you've been able to make some money. So I wouldn't blame you for that one. The funny thing is here for the Canadians is that you beat 2 Western Conference opponents. You beat the Golden Knights. You beat the Avalanche. But we all know this is the 4-point game. You are happy to pile up the wins against the other teams to get yourself 2 points. But these are the wins that you really like because you need these 4-point wins. Buffalo Sabres, you're right, Carm. They own the Canadians right now. Whether it's early goals or late goals, they've gotten the better of the Montreal Canadiens. The only thing different, and we'll see, because I have talked about how this player was always a better goalie when he had a bunch of rest, and now he's not going to have that same rest anymore. I have a feeling that the Montreal Canadiens are kind of abandoning Sam Montembeault, and its time has finally come. They've given the net to Jakub Dobeš. His record on the year, Carm, he is 17-5-3. 17-5-3. And you think about the fact that they haven't even played him that many games. They called up Fowler, and they were playing him more than they were even playing Dobeš. And 17-5-3 on the season, which means, there's only been 5 games where he played in where he didn't get his team a point. So that to me is the only difference here as far as this matchup is we're probably going to get to see Dobish. It's not confirmed, but either going to ride the hot hand. He helps you beat the Avalanche. He helps you beat the Golden Knights. Total wise here, Carm, I got to tell you, I have a real tough time taking any type of unders when it comes to Buffalo Sabres games. The Habs are off a 7-goal performance. Do you think there's a world that we could see a low-scoring start to this game, just based on the implications and how big this game is? These teams know each other. They're familiar with each other. The only thing that kind of worries me about taking any unders here, I have a feeling it's going to be a rough game. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of power plays, and both these teams can score on the power play.
Yeah, Andrew, I can totally see it. By the way, the Sabres line is now up to like minus 130 from the 122. So somebody must have. It's probably Hal or Carm's number one fan or OG, whatever. It's probably him just smashing on the Sabres. But I could see it. As far as like projected goalies, it looks like it's going to be Alex Lyon in goal, and he's won his last 9 starts. But he did not play either one of those games against the Montreal Canadiens in which the Sabres won. So it's a new look for them. So, we'll see how that goes. Speaking of OG hater, Alex Tuck. Yes, he hit the 20-goal mark, another 20-goal season for Alex Tuck. He's not going anywhere. They're not moving him. They're not moving players at the trade deadline, Andrew. If anything, the Sabres could pick up a guy or two. The problem is, Andrew, when you're doing well and overperforming, and a 23-1 for Sabres team is overperforming. No disrespect, but it's overperforming. Do you make a trade, or are you worried about the chemistry that you currently have?
Well, they're playing so well right now. You don't really want to mess with greatness at this point. But it's just crazy, Carm. Look at where that team was in November. Look at where they are now. What a difference. This team has looked so much different. And they ask Rasmus Dahlin, of course, the captain of the team, hey, how does this feel? Like, you're being chased. You're not necessarily chasing somebody else. And he goes, it's a weird feeling, but I like it. Like he's got teams behind him now. Trying to chase them, which is great. But yeah, it's a Buffalo Sabres number, Carm. It's a Buffalo Sabres number. I think the books are tired of people beating them with the Buffalo Sabres. So we'll see. I do know that, I'm worried about it as a Canadiens fan, because this Buffalo team keeps finding ways to win. And one thing I'll say about them, even though the Habs have done better against physical teams, the Buffalo Sabres are kind of built for playoff hockey, man. Like, if they get in, they're not going to be an easy out, which is crazy to say, but they're kind of a physical team. They're a pain in the ass to play against.
Yeah, Andrew, I'm always going to sort of revert back to, they're playing well defensively. If they get into trouble in the defensive zone, they move the puck around, find a guy to clear it. I like the way they're playing. They're getting it out of the just limiting ozone time for the opposition. The one thing that, when we talk about the Buffalo Sabres, and we're going to move on to Toronto and Vancouver in a second, is my final thought is the goaltending. Luukkonen injured. Don't know what the extent of that injury is. I'm seeing, as far as like expected goalies for their next 3 games for the Sabres, and their last 3 games, I think prior to the Olympic pause, that it's Lyon projected for all 3 games. So who knows what the injury is for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, but we will see. Colton Ellis, a rookie. Do you want to have him, if the Sabres make the playoffs, do you want to have him starting a game? So it's like Alex Lyon is suddenly becoming the number 1 goalie, and he did fill in admirably for Bobrovsky in Florida during their cup run, when Bobrovsky was injured for a short little while. But for a cup run, Andrew, I'm not saying they have it in them, but I think their goaltending is the one issue that likely scares me on this team. Just get into the playoffs and then take it from there. Speaking of getting into the playoffs, neither one of these teams, Andrew, is going to get into the playoffs. I'm saying it right now. No, I'm not a Leaf hater, but can you have any confidence in this team, Andrew? The Toronto Maple Leafs, minus 148 in Vancouver. Vancouver plus 124. Total sits here at 6.5. How are you playing this one?
Yeah, look, I mean, yesterday, Seattle were favorites against the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's a Seattle number here. Now we're seeing Toronto minus 154, 155, 160 maybe. This is a Toronto number because if the Leafs, if the books had more respect towards Vancouver, even in the slightest, this could be maybe a 130, 140 towards the Toronto Maple Leafs here. Given this spot, given the fact that they've had no easy games against the Vancouver Canucks, if you look at the Maple Leafs are 4-6 their last 10 games versus the Canucks. It has not been easy whatsoever for them. But given that price tag, I know some people can say, well, hey, it's an even better price for the Canucks here. This is going to be a game that I think for once the Maple Leafs are going to be able to take advantage of a very, very poor defensive team. Let's not forget, there's been some games recently where they got good goaltending and the scoring didn't come. But there's been some games recently where they scored 4 goals, but their goalie allowed 7. And the difference here is that I feel like if they can score against the Vancouver Canucks, they're going to be just fine. I don't think the Canucks have the scoring power to go toe for toe. I think this is going to be a 12-round fight, the Leafs and the Canucks. But if you tell me it's first to 5 goals wins, I think I'll take some player props on the Leafs, and I'll take the Leafs to get the job done. Leafs over 3.5 goals. If you guys are playing this game, don't play the Leafs money line. This is the perfect team total spot. Over 3.5 goals for the Maple Leafs. Carm, what do you think here? You think it's a live dog? And I'll tell you what, also, I know Canucks fans hate this. It's a Hockey Night in Canada game starting at 7:07 p.m., but the game is in Vancouver. What a slap in the face to the Vancouver fans.
Yeah. You know, Andrew, the thing that that amuses me living north of the border is the media here in Toronto.
Yeah.
As the Leafs left home off of that embarrassing homestand, I'm listening to a couple of the talk shows, and they're like, okay, so the Leafs have 4 games left prior to the Olympic break. They have a couple of easy ones to start off in Columbus and Vancouver. They need to get wins in those ones before they face the Edmonton Oilers and Calgary Flames. What? I don't get it. Well, it wasn't an easy one last night against the Seattle Kraken. I can tell you that much. And now they're heading to Vancouver, who some injuries because Brock Boser, I think, is out with a concussion. So I don't think he's playing. But the Vancouver Canucks, they were shut out in Toronto, I think, earlier this season. But they get up for the Leafs. All teams in Canada get up to play the Leafs and knock them off. And Leaf fans will say, well, that's because that's their Stanley Cup. I'm not necessarily positive about that. But Vancouver's beaten the Leafs 4 of the last 6 times they've played them. So, and this is essentially the exact same Leafs team with the exception of Mitch Marner. With that said, is it a given that Toronto's going to go into Vancouver and win? God, no. And I wouldn't lay $1.48. They're supposed to go into Vancouver and win the game. Talent-wise, they have more talent on the team. Goaltending-wise, they have an advantage goaltending-wise. But they've had that over a lot of teams, and they've lost to those teams. So
that's true.
What's to say they're going to go in here and win this game? I do not see it. I think the over is the better bet here. Vancouver off of a great defensive effort against Anaheim. I don't think they can replicate that 2 games in a row. And the Leafs are they're leaking oil right now as far as defensively. Their last 10 games, 8 have gone over the total. They have the 3rd best record for overs on the season in the NHL. This just seems like one where, it's got the hook on it at 6.5, but I would take the over in this game.
I have a hard time, not seeing goals in this one. I could see some goals for sure. As I mentioned, there's been games where the Maple Leafs have been able to score goals, Carm, and then their goalies end up giving up goals as well. So it's weird. And then we have to give credit to Seattle because Seattle does play a little bit of a difficult defensive type of style, which can be difficult for teams like the Maple Leafs to play against. So maybe we'll give them some credit. So it is a little bit different going from a Seattle to a Vancouver. So there should be some open ice in that one, and a lot of pressure on the big guys. And you know what? It sounds crazy to say this, and I know we talk about the Leafs a lot, but this is, at this point, you're fighting for contracts, you're fighting for trades, you're fighting for positions on the team. Like, everybody always has a job. That's the thing. Like in baseball, they play 162 games. But during those games, you have to showcase yourself, for the next contract, for another team or whatever it might be. So, I think that at this point, that game against Vancouver, we're going to see who are the players that are going to get kept, who are the players that are going to leave. And I hate to say this, Carm, but there's probably some players on the team that wouldn't mind being traded right now, like Ekman Larson or some of these that McMahon. I heard some people even floating around the idea of Max Domi getting traded and stuff. So who are the untouchables for you on this team as far as that's concerned? I mean, I think Tree Living's done a poor job. I think that Fraser Minton deal was horrible. I just think that he's made some tough decisions, but who are the untouchables? Like, I think at this point, you probably build the team around a guy like Matthew Nyes. And I think between Tavares, Nylander, and Matthews, you got to trade one of those guys too.
This is a corporate team. They, as much as they have a fan base here, Andrew, the seats are always sold out.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is with this team. It's always sold out. It'll be sold out. This team could stink for years to come, and they'll be sold out. And there is a waiting list of people to get the tickets because it's all corporations that own it, and fans who have been the tickets have been willed to them from their parents and their grandparents and what have you. Then people don't give up their season tickets; they just give them to the next generation and transfer them. As far as so the fan base to me is the people who actually that travel and stand outside the stadium watching it on the big screen in like the Jurassic Park area where the fans for the Raptors always go. Those are the true fans, not the ones that or some of the ones that are sitting inside. As far as the untouchables, Max Domi gone. You look at it, OEL, I mentioned on yesterday's show, you got to trade him because he's never going to have the trade value that he has right now. And teams are looking for a player like him, so you can get a first-round pick for him. McMahon, gone. Like at this point, you have to say to yourselves, I think our season's done. And if they lose two of these remaining 3 games, if they lose in Edmonton, let's say they lose to either Vancouver or Calgary, they are so far out of being into the playoffs that even an insane second half run, and I don't see it coming because they just don't have the scoring. The Mitch Marner effect is there. Fans didn't like Marner because of the fact that in the playoffs, the Leafs failed. So they put it all on his shoulder saying, oh, you only had like 6 assists in a bunch of games. Well, how about all the other players on the team that underperformed? Andrew, this is a team that is sinking fast, and they're a fade for me in the second half of the season because books are going to continue to make them favorites at times. And then the coaching and the GM are gone. Trevelyan's gone. Berube's gone. I'm telling you, they're not going to last another season. Berube's turned this team from a fast-paced team during the regular season that could score goals and win games and then get into the playoffs and play brutal hockey they've turned this team into a slow pedestrian team. And the fact that they're 8-2, they're overs the last 10 games, but they're not scoring goals tells you a lot that we should know about their defensive play, Andrew. There is no untouchable on this team. Matthews has, he extended his contract a couple of years, or he signed that 2-year deal. When his contract runs out, he's gone to, Andrew. The time to rebuild for this team, if they're smart enough, is now. Finish in the bottom 5. You retain your first round draft pick that you gave away by finishing in the bottom 5, and you have a chance at winning the draft lottery.
Well, they're closer to a number 1 overall pick right now than they are to making the playoffs. So that's all that we have to know. All right, Carm, just one game today, but you do have a POD for us today, and you continue to build the bankroll with that. So hats off to you. One play a day with the bankroll, and you're getting the job done. What do you have for us today?
All right, guys, let's keep the politician stuff out of all the politics out of the chat. Let's talk hockey. And here's your pod off the win yesterday with Dallas Stars plus 112 against the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm taking Columbus a minus 140 here. We're back over the 7K range. This is straightforward. The coaches bounce 7-1, playing a team that's on the second of a back-to-back. Both number 1 goalies in goal, but I have more faith in Jet Greaves than I do in Spencer Knight, and they're catching a tired team as well too. Give me the Columbus Blue Jackets minus 140 as your pod play.
There we go. The CBJ Columbus Blue Jackets.
CBJ. I look so young in that picture. It's just ChatGPT must like me. It's like, sir, as long as you continue to make your monthly payments to use ChatGPT, we will continue to make you look younger. The minute I cancel my subscription, they're going to make me look like some old F, but it's what it is. Andrew, I love the fact that you highlight players before you do your pod, because if people are listening to those, before you do your same game parlay, are listening to those, they're cashing tickets on single bets on prop plays, which you're very good at. We put them together in the same game parlay because people asked for it, but you mentioning them at the start it's invaluable as well too for guys who are following along. So with that said, Andrew, give us a same game parlay and some prop plays.
Well, look, yeah, like I said, Carm, I really encourage people to play these as singles as well, not just as the same gamers. There's going to be times where we hit the same gamers, but these singles have done very well too. So let's bring it up here. We've got 4 picks, and I'll tell you what, we've got some pretty good odds here. Plus 800 for today. And you can get even better odds if you go ahead and take Zach Werenski to get 4+ shots on goal. But the Chicago Blackhawks are the worst team in the league in shots on goal given up against defensemen. Zach Werenski, he's been unbelievable this year. Will be a Norris candidate in the NHL. We'll take 3+ shots on goal for Werenski. I already told you guys I like Spencer Knight over 25.5 saves. I feel like the Columbus Blue Jackets are going to pepper Chicago with shots on goal, but Spencer Knight's a great goalie. He will make some saves. And then these two guys are on the second line together, Sean Monahan and Kent Johnson. You're getting a plus price on both of those players, Monahan point and Johnson point. Guys, can we go into the weekend with a plus 800 winner with the same game parlay? I will remind you guys, I am solo betting that Spencer Knight over 25.5 saves. And you could probably do a little bit of a ladder bet on Werenski, 3+ shots on goal, 4 or 5. And again, the Monahan and Johnson, both of those player props are plus money. These can be single bet as well. But if you want to sprinkle everything all together, plus 800 for the same game parlay. Wouldn't it be nice, Carm, just one game today and we just smack a little plus 800? Not too bad. And, all 4 of those have pretty good odds behind them. The Werenski one's a little bit juiced, but they all have some pretty good odds. So let's cash this, guys. 8-1, same game parlay, CBJ and Chicago.
Like it, Andrew. Before I get and cash those tickets, before I get to the 6 and 60, which I'll get to in a minute, and it's going to take me more than 60 seconds. I was at 54 last week, which wasn't bad. So hopefully I can carry over those 6 seconds to today's, because I probably have too much information to read off. But I do want to mention a deal that the office put together for me. Andrew, if you can pop up that graphic, because you're much better at this production stuff than I am. The rest of the NHL season, guys, you get the rest of the NHL season, and this is the cup to cup. You'll get all of the World Cup this summer. Once hockey ends, the World Cup starts, and there's nothing on other than baseball. So it gives you something else to bet on. The World Cup in North America this year, US, Canada, and Mexico. And all the times of the games are all great times, of course, throughout the day and in the evening, so you can watch them like any other sport. Get both deals. If you pick up the NHL package, you get the World Cup for free, $329. Great deal. The World Cup package itself, when it goes on sale later on this year, is going to be $329. $299. So you're getting that. You're getting a great deal for that. So take advantage of that one. And with that said, Andrew, let's now get to the 6 and 60.
Are you ready?
I am ready. 5-0-1 last week. Almost a perfect 6-0. You're 6 and 60. Here we go. Toronto and Vancouver taking over 6.5. Leafs 8-2, last 10 to the over. Third best team in the league at 32-20-2. LA Kings and Philadelphia. Kings money line here. 3rd and 4 nights for Philly, and they're 2-10 their last 12 games. Kings third best road record in the West. New Jersey and Ottawa. Sens money line after a 7-1 5-2 wins over Vegas and Colorado. We could see a revival to the Ottawa Senators season. Rangers and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh money line. Two teams going in opposite directions. Enough said. Pittsburgh money line. Montreal and Buffalo. Buffalo money line, number 1 in points since December 1st, 23-1 their last 24 games. And finally, Seattle and Vegas. Vegas money line. Vegas with tired legs in their first game back off an East Coast trip. They'll be much better in their second game at home against Seattle. They've only lost once at home to Seattle in franchise history. Take Vegas money line. That is your 6 and 60.
All right, some good games on tap. Some good games on tap for the Saturday slate, Carm. I cannot wait for it. You know how the NHL does it. They do it what they do best. 15 games on Thursday, 1 game on Friday, and then a handful of games starting early as well. A handful of games starting early on Saturday. Looking forward to a really great slate.
Andrew, someone asked about the World Cup preview. I will be doing a World Cup preview show with Kelly Stewart, but I will have a downloadable World Cup betting guide. It's just going to explain to you, because it is the first time the World Cup has as many teams as it has this year. Of course, they added more teams. I'm waiting for the March European playoffs to see what the final 4 nations are that make it into the World Cup. Let's see if Italy can finally qualify for one. They've missed the last 2 World Cups, man. But if they make it in, once that is set, I'm pretty much done. It's going to be pretty big. It's about 25 pages long. It'll be downloadable, and it'll be free to download. I'm putting in a ton of hours, and I have someone helping me with a lot of the graphics. It is going to be a very good thing, and it's not just a preview. It's going to explain to you how to bet match day 1s, match day 2s, and match day 3s, because there's a different way, a method to bet every single match day as the tournament progresses, and then obviously the knockout stages. So with that said, I'm guessing the beginning of April is when it'll be ready, just before the NHL playoffs start. So with that said, hopefully I can make you guys some money. No plays in the NHL, because I got the pod. That is the only client play I'm going to have up. 2 plays in afternoon soccer today. I've already got 3 loaded for tomorrow that are 4% best bets. And my NHL card for Saturday is going up shortly. So pick up that 3-day all access, guys, and let's try and make some money. 4-1 yesterday, including 3-0 in the NHL, where we picked up 9 units, including that rocking chair winner on the over in the Detroit Red Wings game. Oh, dear God almighty. Andrew, man, people got to pick up your Olympic hockey, because I've been talking to you about Olympic hockey the last few weeks, and some of the stuff that you are, I'm not going to say spewing, but telling me about is unbelievable. Andrew's going to have a ton of plays up during the Olympics, and he's got a great deal up. I think it's $59. Tell us about it and tell us what you have going on and close up the show.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited here, Carm. Thanks very much. $59 here, guys, for every single pick, every single play that I give out during the Olympics. And especially with how different the time is going to be for these Olympic Games, you really want to be tapped in with this all-access package. There's going to be games going on in the morning, going to be going on in the midday, afternoon, depending on where you're living. But for us, on the East Coast, there's morning games, there's lunchtime games. You don't really know when you're going to be having to get your bets in. Make sure you get this package. You're going to get every single pick that I make in the Olympics right in this one package. So looking forward to it. You should get no fewer than 20 plays across props, sides, totals, all that good stuff, futures potentially. So it should be a really, really good tournament. And I'll tell you what, guys, like I have been researching the France team, the Italian team, like the Denmark team. It's not just about the Canada, USA, and the Sweden. We're talking about goal lines of 3.5, 4.5 totals are going to be extremely high. I'm locked and loaded. Some of you guys have already joined me on this package. And if anybody is interested for about, I think it's, 12, 13 days of picks, don't forget about the NHL, but also join me with the Olympics during this break. Going to be a really good time. And Carl, we've got hockey every single day during this Olympics, so I cannot wait for it. And, I'm going to miss the NHL, but I cannot wait to watch it. So, guys, at my page, wt.buzz/am, you guys can grab that for $59. And, Carm, I'll just mention this. I got a 5% play going tomorrow. I'm waiting for the odds to kind of spread apart. Each book, right now, only one or two books have odds up, but I found a play I really, really do like. 5% big bet. We're 4-1 in January with 5% plays. We'll try and make it 5-1 and get a big win for you guys to close off the month. So looking forward to it. As we always say, small slate on Friday, big slate on Saturday. Make sure you guys are grabbing Carmine soccer plays, but what a deal that is. World Cup plus NHL. Carm puts in the time, does his research. Make sure you guys check it out. Kopech says going to be $59 up until the start. Yes, $59 up until a day before the tournament. Kopech, you'll have that. So one day before the tournament, then the package might be a little bit frozen and go away. So that will do it for Puck Time, guys. Thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate it. I know it's a long show, but hopefully you guys love hockey as much as we do as well. Last thing I'll mention, the pre-scout. I'm going to have a show up tonight going every single game on the board, every single game for Saturday's NHL slate. Special guest, Ian Cameron, Bobano Bets, joining me. Can't wait to have him on the show. We're going to go over every single thing in hockey and every single game on the Saturday slate. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.